Hi guys, it's Kelly back again with another video for Honeybee Stamps. This is part of their Happy 4th Bee Day. Isn't that cute? Honeybee Bee Day. I think it's adorable. Anywho, for their blog hop. And this is one of the new sets. It's called Oh My Whiskers, and it's all little kitty cats. And then what is it? Perfect day, you're perfect, all these purrs. I can't do the actual purr because I cannot roll my R's. That's not a thing that I'm capable of. But anyway, that's the sentiments that I'm going to be using. They came out with puppy dogs and kitty cats, and this is a testament to how adorable that I think this stamp set is, because I'm firmly in the dog camp. Like, I love dogs. I've had dogs my whole life. If you give me a choice between a dog and a cat, I'm going dog every time. But I just could not stop with these kitties in this little galoshes with the flowers, and I was like, stop it, this is adorable. So then I decided I was going to watercolor it, and that's where we are. So I'm stamping this down in Gina K amalgam ink. This is the color Whisper, so it's a very light like beige. You'll see here when we get a little bit closer, and I'm going to be painting with my Daniel Smith watercolors. I just keep mine. This is actually a little palette for alcohol inks from Tim Holtz, but works really, really well for watercolors. And since I only have just a handful of watercolors, it gives me plenty of little circles to still mix in. So the way that I like to watercolor is I put down a line of color where I want it to be the darkest, and then I go in with clean water and kind of spread that out. It's a little bit different for this boot because it's such a large surface area to color. So you'll see multiple times I'm going to go back in, I'm going to put in more color, I'm going to spread that out. At some point I am going to speed up the footage because this watercolor just takes a long time. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's a beautiful medium, and if you have the time to do it, I recommend that you give it a try. But for video purposes, like, I sped it up, and it's still a 20-minute video, guys. It's a little bit more time consuming. So if you're a person who wants quantity, I shouldn't say quantity versus quality, because you can still make quality cards in a short amount of time. But if you're a person who's like, I'm not spending 2 hours on a card, this didn't take me 2 hours. Took me about an hour and a half, but I'm not spending that amount of time on one card, then this type of technique is probably not for you. It doesn't bother me to spend a long time on a card as long as I'm happy with the way it looks in the end. So I'm cool with it. But if you're not, that's okay. There are simpler ways to do watercoloring than the way that I do it. This is just me showing you how I approach things like this. So we're going to watch the whole thing, all the watercoloring, and then there's lots to talk about. So if you have not been following along over on the Honeybee, we've been doing sneak peeks all week long. The design team has just been killing it. They're just so talented, and I love seeing the things that they do. In fact, this is terrible, I did not make it over to the blog before I did this card. And there's another design team member who actually kind of had the same idea. I don't think she watercolored hers though, but like with the green boot, and I think she has white kitties. Hers is so beautiful. But I'll link to hers so you can go check out hers as well. I guess it's so funny how as crafters you could make them any color in the world that you wanted, and like we both went with the same green. Which, by the way, I achieved by mixing my sap green with my turquoise. I just put a little bit of turquoise in there so it would be a little bit more blue, because I wanted that traditional, like, what are they? Hunter? Are they hunter boots? I don't know. They were super popular a couple of years ago, and that's the one that's kind of most well-known, that green color, and so that's why I went with it. But you can make these any color that you want them to be. They don't even need to be galoshes. You could turn them into like a work boot, like doing them, brown or black. But anyway, so funny how people have the same ideas, I guess. I don't have cats. As I've told you, I have a dog. Her name is Molly. She's a Boxer Mastiff mix. She's my big old baby, and I love her to death. So because I don't have cats, I went a scrolling because I have a girlfriend, Jana. This is me stalking her Instagram for pictures of her kitty cats, which are Kirby and Gracie. And so she already had 2 cats. I thought this would be a wonderful card to send to her because I think that she's awesome and I love her very much. So I wanted to paint them to look like her kitties. So when she got the card, it would be a little bit more personal. So this is Gracie. Gracie is the like tiger stripe. She is a little bit more brown in the card than I think she is in real life. I just couldn't get that cool brown color together. But she has a little bit of white under her chin, so I left that blank, like from her nose down. She's got a couple little white spots, and then put in the tiger stripes with very watered down black. And then Kirby is black and white, and so he's got a kind of like a half mask on his face. So that one was really easy to do. And then the white, I just added the shading again with the very diluted black, just watered it down. So I'm using a number 2. I didn't even tell you. I'm using a number 2 round brush from the Silver Brush Company. Not everybody likes these brushes, but I really do. I feel like I can get into teeny tiny areas. Like it wasn't an issue for me to do the little kitty's eyes or to do their whiskers, which are obviously very fine line. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I have like so many things to talk about and I don't even know what to touch on. So we're in the middle of, I'm not in the middle, this is a lie, I just lied to you. Eric is in the middle of a craft room rehaul. Basically he has decided he's going to organize my craft room because I pretty much have no organizational skills whatsoever. And I got really, really overwhelmed. So when I was married, I was just, regular consumer crafter, and I still am a consumer, but I started working for companies and then products started coming into my house for the companies that I was working for. And I shared my craft room with my ex-husband. So half of it was his office and half of it was my craft room. And so I already didn't really have great organization for that room. And then as these boxes started coming in, I definitely had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I didn't have anywhere to put those things. So they're almost all like in their original packaging, in their original boxes. And so when I moved, I just left that, like I just filled up totes with stuff and just moved. Obviously, the move wasn't like it wasn't long-term planned. I don't think anybody long-term plans for getting divorced and having to move. So, we were just trying to move the things out of the house in the most efficient way. And I really haven't done much with it since then, because I have 3 jobs and I'm a mom and you get what I'm saying. So he has taken it upon himself to start organizing my craft room, which is amazing and so generous of him. I don't think he realized how much was in here until he kind of got started picking it apart, because there are a lot of things. And I had a lot of things before I started really working for anybody. I just had things that I had accumulated. So yeah, so that's that. And I'm super, super grateful, to finally have it looking like something that's in some semblance of an order. Here, just to touch back on the card real quick, for this little bucket, I decided to do it gray, and then I'm adding shading where it's tucked behind the boot because the boot would block the light, but then also just some random shading over on like the left-hand side to give it a more, it's going to look more striped, but it's going to give it some texture and some dimension is really what my point is. So having those highlights and those shadows are going to give it a more round appearance. Here, I'm going back into little Gracie because I felt like I left too much white, like her head was not touching the rest of her body. So I wanted to go back in and fix that. And then I'm going to start to work on the flowers. You'll notice I didn't paint the top part of the bucket, and that was on purpose. I figured it would be easier to put in my items, my branches and my flowers, and then go back in and paint the gray around it than it would be to cover my flowers in gray and then paint on top of it, especially if they were going to be a little bit lighter. So craft room rehaul currently going on. Oh, I wanted to mention, because I keep forgetting to tell you guys, and I'm so sorry to leave you hanging, because I did mention Nathan had a hearing test. He passed with flying colors. So they told me that a lot of times at school, it could be that he didn't understand the directions, that there was other distractions. So we did the hearing test, totally passed, everything's fine. When we saw the doctor, the ENT looked at his ears and his nose. He did have a little bit of wax buildup in his ears, but she said nothing that was crazy. And that like the lining of his nose was inflamed, which she said you typically tend to see with people who have allergies, which he does. Also, I do, which I'm sure that by now you've probably realized that I'm filming this in the morning, because I am always the most congested in the morning when I first get up. I probably need to get a humidifier, honestly. But so we have a appointment with an allergist to figure out what he is allergic to, so we can see if it's anything that we can actually keep him from. In the meantime, he's just on the same allergy meds that he's been on. So that's that. Caught up on that. Yeah, what else? Like, there's just so many Easters coming. And so I'm super excited about that. Easter is tomorrow. So we have plans to, that's I think that is the hardest thing, I think, about being divorced with children, is the splitting of the holidays. Fortunately, we have always, my ex-husband and I had always kind of split our time between our families because we all live so close. I always jokingly say it's a commune. So we've always spent some time at his parents' house and sometimes at my parents' house the entirety of our relationship. So that's really not that different. So we have been splitting the holidays the same way. So he will have Peanut in the morning and I will have him in the evening for dinner. So while he has Peanut in the morning, I'm going to go to Eric's family's for their Easter celebration, and then pick up my kiddo and then head over to my parents' house. So that will be nice. I'm excited to get to see my parents and my sisters. We get together, for people's birthdays and holidays and things, but it really feels like it's been a long time since the last holiday, and I haven't seen them in a long time. And just because of what my schedule is, I don't get to see them as often. I know I'm not the only person that happens to, because life, we all gotta work and run households and get our kids to and from. Speaking of to and from, Peanut has started lacrosse. We've always asked him, like, anytime a sport or a extracurricular activity came home, is this something you want to do? And pretty much he has been a no-go on all of them until lacrosse. So I asked him if he wanted to do it. He told me he didn't know what it was, and I wanted to be like, it's all right, buddy. I don't really know what it is either. But so I showed him a little video on YouTube. He said he'd like to try it. And so then we've signed up for lacrosse. His first practice, it just broke my heart. I mean, it just did. It just broke my heart. So he went out there and was running around and doing things. And then they got to the point of the throwing, where he's really good at scooping up the ball. He's really good at the, cradling the stick, all of those things, practicing all of those. But the throwing is new to him. Throwing something with a stick is new. And so he's going to have to learn. And he's my little shy guy. So I don't really have to worry about him throwing a fit in the store, because he doesn't want all these people looking at him, which I can totally relate to, because I am very similar. I know based on my jobs, and here I am on YouTube talking, it would probably shock you to know, but I get a lot of anxiety about being up in a room full of people. I get a lot of anxiety about being the center of attention. It's just not really my thing, which is kind of contradictory to my personality, because I'm such an extrovert. But it just makes me sweaty and uncomfortable, and I don't like it. And my ex-husband is very similar. His personality is to be more shy. So Nathan doesn't really like pitch fits in stores or anything like that. He's very well behaved, pretty much because that's what's expected of him, and he doesn't want a bunch of people looking at him. Now at home, completely different animal. I don't know what happens to him. Like, from walking out of school to walking into our house, I have no idea. There's a transformation, like a full moon. But anywho, so he was getting frustrated with the throwing of the ball, and he's standing in line waiting for his turn to throw the ball again, and he just starts crying. He didn't walk off the field. He wasn't making like a scene about it. He just was standing there by him, in line by himself crying. And so Craig and I, my ex-husband and I, kind of walked over and we're like, "What's going on, buddy?" And he was like, I don't like it. I don't like the throwing. And so we talked to him and calmed him down. And I was like, you gotta go back out there and finish. You only got 15 minutes left. And so he did. He went back out and finished. And then he later on when we talked about it, both of us agreed that it was just like he was frustrated, and because he's not one to make a scene, he didn't I guess he didn't want to cry and throw a fit, but he was very frustrated with the fact that he couldn't do it. So Craig actually went and bought like a net and the balls, the lacrosse balls, so that they could practice together. And now we seem to be doing much better. He seems to enjoy it much more. But I think that because this is the first extracurricular thing he's been a part of, it's just very different, and having to learn something, very structured. School is, I think, different because everybody's doing the same thing and there isn't really a comparison. And I feel like comparison is the thief of joy, because it is. But so I think because it isn't like so in your face, the comparison, he doesn't have such an issue with it. But being able to see the other boys, and how they're throwing the ball and that they're making goals and maybe that he isn't, is very frustrating. So hopefully, as we go forward, it'll be something that he gets more comfortable with and kind of works through. If not, lacrosse isn't forever. Like, we'll finish out the season, because I don't believe in committing to something and then not following through with it. But so yeah, that's where we're at with that. And he did, like, the last time they played, what was it? It was like musical chairs, but they like put a bunch of balls in the circle, and then the boys had to run around the circle. And then when the coach blew his whistle, they had to scoop a ball. The person who didn't scoop a ball is out, if there's not enough chairs and musical chairs. And he plays musical chairs all the time at school. So he was like totally on board for that. He had fun with it. So I think it just depends on maybe what they're doing for practice that day, whether or not he's going to really like it or not. And honestly, that's no different than real life, because there's plenty of things about my job that I do like, and then there's other things that I abhor and I don't want to do them at all, but it's expected of you because, you're earning a paycheck, and so you do it. So it's good preparation for real life, because he's going to have to do plenty of things he doesn't want to do. Yeah, so there's that. I know we're backed up on just regular story time. If you follow my Instagram, I did get a tattoo. I will absolutely 100% be telling you that story. And then there was something else that had gone on. I don't remember what. Now that we're getting into spring, the bugs are back, which makes me very sad. So I took your guys' advice. I bought some glue traps, and then I put those down. Eric sprayed the house again, because I think I killed five spiders in like 3 days or something. And I was like, yeah, it's official. They're back. And then also the ants. So the ants were a problem for me more toward the fall. And now they seem to be back again, which is a real bummer. I don't like it at all. Here for the sentiment, back to the card again, for the sentiment, I wanted to stagger the way that it looked. It's a long sentiment, but I wanted it to fit my card. So I just inked up the cat's meow part, and then I stamped that down, then cleaned the stamp really, really well, wiped off the moisture with my hand, and then I'm going to go back in and stamp the "you are the." And so I did get a little bit of black on the C for cats. I'm just going to go in with a baby wipe and wipe that off. You can also mask these, which will prevent any ink from getting anywhere you don't want it. That's another way to do it so that that's not a problem for you. Once everything was all done, dry, the whole deal, sentiments stamped, I wanted to put some sequins on. I just felt like it felt a little bit naked. And then my Glossy Accents was super clogged, so I actually had to soak it in order to be able to get it out. So I just put it in a little cup with some hot water, and it dissolved it, and it was no problem. So there's a little something something if that happens for you. Don't just throw the whole bottle out. Just pop the nib off and rinse it under some hot water. So, oh, the glitter. I added some glitter. You have to be careful though because it's water-based, the Wink Stella, or in my case, I use the Nuvo Clear glitter gloss. Those are both water-based and can pick up some of your watercolor, so be careful you're not spreading your color around. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So I will be back again soon with another video, and I will catch you guys then. Bye.